There we are. Right, we should be live now. Hello, good morning, everybody. It's Debbie Gilbert here from the Best Business Women Awards. And this is our Awards Insider Live that we're doing every few Mondays, not every single Monday, but every few Mondays, and bringing on some of our sponsors, judges, and talking to them all about the inside information about awards. So today I'm joined by Denise O'Leary from Purple Marketing.
Good morning.
Good morning. She won the Best Business Women Awards many years ago, probably 2018, I think.
It was 2018.
That's it. And then she came on board as a sponsor and a judge after that. And I'm also joined by Fiona Scott, who is a sponsor, and she is a PR expert. So making sure that people get the right PR after their award win is one of the things that she does so well. And I'm also joined by Diane Watson from She Can Prosper. Morning. And she's a financial expert of some 30 years, an award winner herself. Oh, and Fiona, we'll have to talk about your win as well. And she is a sponsor of the Lifetime Achievement category this year, but she has been a sponsor now for quite a number of years, different categories. So actually, before we talk about anything else, let's talk about your win, Fiona, last week.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I won Solopreneur of the Year for the Southwest Business and Community Awards, judged by a panel of people, as Denise and I have a close relationship with them. And yeah, it felt very weird, so weird, in fact, that I was not expecting it and nearly spat my Coke all over the person I was speaking to next to me at the event, because really I was there because a number of clients had been nominated and I was there to support them.
Oh, wow. So that must have been, like one of those lovely moments in life that you won't forget in a hurry.
Yeah,
right.
It was lovely. And I'm about to send out, just so folks know, I'm about to send out my press release about my win, which feels really weird, this week once I've got the official photos back. So you do need to act quite quickly with these things.
You do. And you've got to take your own advice at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to walk your own talk.
Oh, do you know what? I wasn't there. I was invited to come to the event. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. And do you know what? I was just so thrilled when I saw that you'd won that, because you so deserved it. You so deserved it. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
So let's go to Diane first. So you also won a lovely Lifetime Achievement Award last year, didn't you, in New York?
I did. I was over for the CV Awards, actually with you and with Denise. There were a number of us from the UK, and it was just an incredible event. I couldn't have imagined how many amazing women would be in the same room, and how fantastic it was that we were all supporting each other. And I got my award, which is sitting in my study at home.
Oh, that's lovely. And you came on board as a sponsor a few years ago, probably around 2021, I think. I should have looked all this up beforehand. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm really bad. And you've been a real champion of the Best Business Women Awards. So what is it about sponsoring awards that what does it bring to your business, and how does it make you feel?
Well, I think you're right. I think it was 2021. And I was very much out of the loop around business awards. It isn't something I'd ever really been involved with before. So when I went to your first event, I can't remember what I sponsored that year, actually, Debbie. I've done a few different things, but I was absolutely blown away by the number of amazing women in the room. I've never been to an event like that. I work in a kind of quite a male industry, although my passion is supporting women be more financially empowered. So it was just fantastic that there were so many women raising each other up and celebrating each other's successes. Which, to be honest with you, I hadn't really experienced before. So much love in the room, so much support, so much, celebration of everybody's successes. And even those people that, maybe didn't, win, well, everybody wins an award anyway at your awards, which is what's so great about them. And then I think since then, obviously I've done, I've been more involved. I've realized just how special your awards are, because they really are. I'm a massive champion of fairness. And your awards are very fair. You know, they are judged properly. I've been involved in other awards where I haven't felt that's the case. So what I would say is that anybody that enters your awards is going to have their application judged very fairly by a number of amazing judges. I mean, you know, all the judges give up their time for nothing. And if you win, then you know you absolutely have had a fair trial, so to speak. And that's one of the things that I like about it so much.
Oh, thank you, Diane. That's really lovely of you to say. And yeah, it's a process that I've worked really, really hard on. And I'm actually running a free event tomorrow talking around the categories and the questions. And I'm also going to share some of the judging process as well, because I think it's important. Transparency is really important. And so, Denise, you're on the judging panel. What's your thoughts about the judging process?
Yeah, I mean, I just highlight the key point that Diane has mentioned about fairness. It is a very, very intensive process. I would say it is a full week of work, and the judges aren't paid. They're not affiliated. There's no knockback in any way. And actually, they do realise the high level of responsibility, because if you choose a winner, you are changing that business's life, and that business women, all of the team, all of the structure around it, all of the finalists that ultimately become either the one gold winner or the silver winners that are finalists. You're changing the trajectory of all of those businesses, and that is a responsibility we all take very seriously. My personal approach is to read all the entries once first without making any particular judgment on scoring, and then review them all again with a methodology of actually looking at their data, looking at their information, looking at things outside of the judging process, such as Companies House. And, you know, we check the websites, we look at social media feeds. You know, there is a lot of information that goes into that decision. So I would say for anybody entering, you know, do be mindful of the evidence that you put forward, because the judges do check that out. And whilst your words on the entry are very key, we will look at the supplemental information, and often it is that is the decider overall as to who takes home the ultimate trophy.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, great points. I mean, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, where do I vote? And I say, we don't do voting.
No.
Because to me, voting is a popularity contest. So I wondered, Fiona, what's your thoughts on awards that you have to vote for?
I knew you were going to ask me that, Debbie. I have entered awards where people vote for you, but if you think about my world, I'm in the world of PR, so a popularity contest is absolutely aligned to what I do, because my job is to make people visible, including myself. But I will, and this is where Debbie and I agree a lot, I will exercise a note of caution for people out there who think of entering awards. If you receive an email that says you've won or been shortlisted for an award that you've never heard of before, that you know you haven't entered, and yet there is absolutely no way of tracing who has nominated you, then it's a data scraping exercise. And you actually damage your reputation by going for awards that have no credibility, no back history. You can't speak to anyone who's ever won anything in that awards other than the organisers. These are really common, and they make you look desperate. Don't be desperate. Be very, very focused. Answer the questions that you're asked to properly. Understand and listen to what Denise has said about providing the supplementary evidence, because the important thing is to remember is none of us writes on anything we send to someone, yeah, I'm Fiona Scott, I do PR and I'm a bit average, or you know, I'm okay at what I do. We all big ourselves up because that's part of our sales language, and it has its place, don't get me wrong. But good judges are going to go off and actually check that what you say is accurate, that you aren't trying to BS anybody. So there are awards and there are awards.
Yeah.
I think that's really key what you said there, Fiona, about what people say about themselves versus what others say about them. And that, again, leads us back to evidence, but it's really key having testimonials, because at the end of the day, you're quite right. Anybody could say anything about themselves that they choose, either bigging themselves up or hiding their light. You know, it could be either. But the whole fact of other people, particularly your clients or people you've made a difference in their lives, saying about you, that is so much more going to be something that the judges are going to say, actually, I put credence into that statement.
Yeah, good points. I'm going to talk about another ethical question that crops up with awards, and I'm going to aim this one at you, Diane, because Diane and I were sitting at some business awards where the sponsors and even the venue where the awards was being held was winning awards. So Diane, what do you think about sponsors being able to enter?
Well, I 100% don't agree with it, because I think it does. Sorry, please excuse me. There's somebody.
Is that your ring doorbell?
Putting a parcel outside my front door, I think, while we speak. I mean, I don't agree with it, because I think it kind of muddies the water, really. And, you know, Debbie's right. We went to an awards ceremony where the hotel venue personnel won an award, where people who had sponsored won awards. And it left quite a sour taste in our mouths, really, didn't it? Didn't it, Debbie? Because it didn't feel like it was a level playing field. And
I mean, they may have won it on credit, and I'm not saying that they didn't, but it just muddied the water a little bit with the sponsors. And I would say there was at least 4 sponsors that night that won awards, as well as the venue that was actually hosting the awards. And I just sat there thinking, you know, this isn't maybe just a little bit too muddy, because you don't know if they won it because they'd sponsored it. Because I know that this goes on a lot in big industry awards, because my husband used to go to a lot of car leasing awards, and he used to say to me, you know, it's a total fix. He said, whoever spends the most on sponsorship wins an award. And I used to think, really? You know, and he was like, yeah. He said, definitely, 100%. So I think it does muddy the waters. What do you think, Fiona?
I think it definitely can muddy the waters, and I don't think it's best practice. I have been to awards where there are sponsors of certain awards, and therefore you cannot enter as a sponsor that particular award, but you might be able to enter other categories. But equally, it can be murky, because what will happen is you will get people in the room, especially if they haven't won, who'll be saying, oh, wow, such and such won because they sponsored. So, and it's a question I asked you when I sponsored an award, Debbie, does that mean I can't enter any other categories? Because there are other categories I could probably enter. And you said, no, you can't enter. And I accepted that. That's the rules. That's the rules of your awards. But also it flags up for me, because another thing about poor awards is when you've won an award and you say you can't enter and you can't attend the do, i.e. you aren't going to buy tickets and you can't turn up, and then you're told, well, if you don't come, you don't get the award, and therefore an award like that isn't real. So I think that it's about, because what I do recognise, Debbie, is that some people in different business areas will be very limited as to what awards they can actually enter. So this is a national award that you run for women, but what about if locally there are no local business awards, or there's one and you don't like the way that it's run? Because many award schemes disappeared through COVID and haven't come back. So I think it's really looking at each award that you think might benefit you personally or your brand, and just looking at the structure that they're run under, and have a look at that and see if it aligns with you and your values. And if it doesn't, don't enter.
Yeah, don't enter. And yeah, just to reiterate the point about the Best Business Women Awards, we abide by the judge's decision, which is made in July, and then the tickets are put on sale, and we don't disqualify people who don't attend. Now, you know, there is a school of thought that says, oh, that ruins the night because the winners aren't there. You know, it's rare that the winners don't come. It's very rare. But I would say, you know, that's their choice. And if they want their trophy sent to them afterwards, we charge them for the postage and packing, obviously. There's a cost to us to do that. But I always say they miss out on the opportunity. And I mean, we even had one incident when we were at the Tower Hotel back in 2019, where on the night, I didn't get notified that one of the actual category winners wasn't coming. She'd bought tickets, and unfortunately her mother-in-law had ended up in intensive care. And so she'd obviously made the choice to go with her husband to that. And God, you know, that is the right thing to do. So it can be on the night, you know, you're calling somebody's name and they don't come up on the stage and you're like, oh my God. So you have to be kind of quick thinking. But it upsets me when I read you are disqualified if you don't attend the final, because then how is that, again, a fair judging process? Comes back to that again. And if I don't like that. And you know, I have had this discussion with somebody else who runs awards, who said to me, yeah, but the thing is, you know, you could end up with nobody there. Well, I think that's pretty unlikely, to be honest.
I attended something in November, Debbie, as you know, after we went to New York, where I feel on reflection, we were encouraged to go. We were encouraged to buy tickets. It just felt, it didn't seem, the way it was run, it didn't seem as ethical as yours, is all I'm going to say on the subject.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do think if the judges have made the decision, then, you know, that's the decision you abide by. And what was interesting, I was at another awards recently. In fact, you were there with me, Diane. And the actual trophies didn't have people's names on. And every single winner was there, and I was a little bit suspicious as to whether that because our trophies have the person's name on, so there can be no dispute about who that person who has won that category is. So I was sitting there thinking, I wonder if they changed the result in the last knockings and give out.
Anytime there's that doubt, that's the thing, isn't it, Debbie? You don't want the seeds of doubt.
If you haven't got the person's name on it, you could easily go, oh well, you know, let's say you, Fiona. Oh, Fiona's not coming. Right, well, we'll give it to Diane then. Because it just had the category on it. It didn't have anything else. I don't know. Maybe I'm being super, super cynical here.
But the whole point of the structure of entering awards is to be able to publicise your achievements. You know, if you're entering and you know what date the award ceremony is and you can't make it, are you not better to keep your powder dry for next year? It's that whole thing, isn't it, of making that assessment. The vehicle of the awards is a massive part of the PR story, and Fiona, being an expert in that field, will tell everybody all what they can do around it. But if you miss the chance of the photos on the red carpet, the networking, the congratulating the other finalists, the social media, a huge chunk of what's involved in that process is missing.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And also the vibe and the energy of the event and the way the organizer, like Debbie, talks about it throughout the year, shows pictures on the night, how other people tweet about it or share posts and pictures, encourages other people. Thanks for the music, Diane.
Sorry.
It just encourages other people to think, well, actually, if I enter next year, I'm going to be there. When I encourage clients to enter awards, I tell them it's a project. It's not just one night. It's not just one thing and I'll forget about it. It's a project. You're making a decision for that to be a project for you in that coming year. And that's why I often recommend my clients anyway, not to enter awards every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Be choosy. Because equally, you know, if you're doing one every single week, it loses its credibility, and it loses its credibility to others, if that's really all you're talking about.
There's 2 points there that I want to come back to you on. One is, do you think if you're not at the ceremony, it dilutes the PR down, for one thing? Yes. Or no? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because for a start, you don't have the official picture on the night of you or your team, you and your team getting the award. I think you can just about get away with it if you've got a small team and it's another team member. It's someone from your team. But you are missing out on that key thing. Journalists in particular will look for pictures first, and pictures can be the thing that actually gets you across the line. If they're short of pictures for that day or that week, for that page, for that online article they want to get out and fill that space. So, it's almost not worth entering if you can't actually physically be there.
Yeah, because I think an official photo, there is no substitute, is there? You know, from a PR perspective, a high res, lovely image. And the other thing that you were saying is about entering lots of awards. So we see this a lot. You know, I'll see people popping up that, you know, that they're finalists in like 5 awards. It almost feels like every month they're. So would you say pick wisely and maybe do 2 or 3 in a year, or 1, or what would your advice be on that for a PR perspective?
I think it depends what type of business you have. So if you have a product-based business, there are usually a whole raft of awards around products and a whole raft of awards around peoples and teams. So choose wisely there. You know, they're different audiences and different things. So you will probably enter more awards if you are a product-based business. And generally you'll focus on products and you'll forget the people. That's a mistake. But if you are a service-based business like me, I want to show people a variety of stories about me. So no, I don't want every single week me saying I've been shortlisted for this award and that award and the other award. You want to space it out. So generally, I would see as a very rough rule of thumb, one that's either very local, if you get your business locally or within, say, I don't know, 50-kilometer radius of where your business is based. Maybe one that's regional. So you're looking whatever region you're in, Southwest, Southeast, Midlands, and 1 national. Okay, yeah. So I would say maximum of 3 for a service-based business. And if you're thinking, oh, that's too many, that's fine. Just choose 1 for 1 year and 1 for the next year. I would do a few well than trying to do 20 badly. Or even if you're doing them all really well, you might employ someone to do your entries for you. Imagine what the client who doesn't know you yet is going to think if every week you're talking about your nomination for an award and you've got very little else to say.
Yes, because you see people who are constantly nominated, but they never actually win. I see this as well quite a lot. You know, it feels like my feed is full of, there's a couple of people in particular that I see, and I always think, always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Look, somebody said that to me last week. I'm just saying.
Well, you're the bride now. What can I say?
That's the story of resilience, keeping going. I mean, exactly. So many awards, it isn't your first entry that you're going to succeed on, especially ones that have got very in-depth judging processes, have got time-limited evidence. I mean, we talked earlier about the Stevie Awards. They put a date clock on when your evidence can be accrued from. Now, you've got a backstory, and everybody's got a backstory to their business, but the actual evidence of that achievement in that time frame, and yet judging the Best Business Women Awards, we obviously put more credence on recency. You know, there is something that we're saying this was done recently, and if someone did a lot 5 years ago but hasn't done anything perceptively since, we're asking the question why. And I think that is, you know, the case with awards. Continually winning is a very strong strategy of getting yourself known. And it's not about winning all of the things all of the time, continually with nothing else. But it's that whole thing. If you suddenly see that someone had 20 awards in 2021 and then we've never heard from them since, are they still trading? What do we think about them? So that whole process.
I was going to tell you a funny story. Weirdly, 2021. So literally last week, I had an email from someone who said, I entered in 2021. Did you keep my entry? And if so, could I have it so I can refresh it? And I was a bit like, that's nearly 5 years ago. Like, what? I mean, we've got different questions than we had in 2020. And yes, she did get to the final. She didn't win her category. But I was a bit like, well, that's a very strange thing to ask me after all those years. Very odd. Very, very odd.
Did you have it? Did you have it, Debbie?
No, I don't have it. No, because they get destroyed off the system around about 8 weeks after the final in October. So we keep them until towards the end of the year, just if anybody wants feedback on their entry. And then they're destroyed because they're on a secure server. So then they're deleted.
And GDPR regulations means you're very responsible for people's data. And there is confidential information that you have to make sure is handled properly, efficiently, effectively, and got rid of.
And we get rid of it all.
let's face it, ladies. I mean, someone who entered in 2021, why haven't they got a copy of their entry? Because I would have one.
Yeah.
A copy of my entries, because I want to learn what I've done wrong in the past and improve upon it in the future. So yeah, that, to me, that speaks volumes.
I know, and I always say to people, don't ever do your entry live on the online form. You know, put it into a Word document, you know, check it, reread it, make sure you've got everything where it needs to be, and then sit down and do it. And the number of people that don't do that, and they just completely ignore that advice, and then you've always got that document, and you can, like you said, Fiona, you can reuse it for other awards and rework the answers to fit other questions, because I'd never suggest that somebody copies and pastes the same answers into a different awards to ours. And people do that, and we've had that before, where you know, you've seen that, haven't you, Denise, where people
They actually left the old name in there, which is always a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, and they'll say, you know, the question, they've just literally thought, oh well, I've done this award, and maybe they got to the final, or maybe they even won it, and I'll just copy and paste those answers into the Best Business Women Awards, leaving behind a clear trail of the fact that these were not anything to do with our awards. I mean,
and that some of that, I think, is possibly lack of planning, and that they left it too late. But sadly, other awards do consistently extend deadlines, and the Best Business Women Awards do not.
Yeah.
So do not leave it till the last minute, where you're inputting straight into the portal and you're pressing your old entry and cutting and pasting it in. That won't work from a judging perspective, because we appreciate that a good crafted entry takes time. It needs to be reviewed, and actually you're better to sit on it and read it back yourself, get someone trusted to read it back as well, and do all that offline before you upload it for the submit button.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that we've had quite a number of entries in already, and we always get a few that come in literally the day of the launch, and they're very rarely ever completed properly. Rarely. You know, that they've been rushed and sort of tried to tick them off the list. And also the people that tend to do it at 5 to 5, 5 minutes before we close, don't always as well put in the best entry. But then I did have an exception to that last year. A lady came up to me at the final and she said, oh, I only saw your awards on the day that it closed, and I didn't know what to do. So I thought, I'm just going to sit down and spend the afternoon doing it and everything you said about preparation. But in fairness to her, she had done other awards before, so she did have stuff that she'd gathered together. Okay, let's finish off then with a comment about what awards have brought to your life. So Denise, let's start with you. What's been the highlight in the awards life that you've had in the last 11 years?
The friendships, the companionship, the cheerleading.
Yeah, brilliant. Diane, what about you?
I think it's really raised my profile on social media. And, you know, lots of people have said, oh, I've seen you won an award, especially when we went to the States last year. I think that really caught people's attention. So it's just profile raising, really.
It's been really good for you. And I always remember you saying to me, because we met about 5 years ago, and you said, oh, I wish I'd seen you
sooner.
I wish I'd met you sooner, because you'd never really done awards, had you? Even though you'd had your business 25 years when I met you.
Yeah, never.
So, interesting. Never. And Fiona, the bride from last week. Have you got your trophy there? Have you got your plaque with you?
I've actually got it up in the window.
Oh.
I've got it up in the window so I can actually see it every day.
Oh, good.
Which replaced the lovely certificate you gave me, Debbie, when I celebrated 15 years in business, because I hadn't won an award like that at that time.
That's right. I said you were, didn't I?
So I replaced it with that one. Awards, what do they do?
They've been good for your business as a PR.
Really good for the business. One, it gets you in the right room with the right type of people, because people who are willing to commit to awards believe in themselves, believe in what they're doing. They're usually passionate, and those are the type of people I want to be with and I want to work with. So that's the first thing. It's people first. The second thing is credibility. It's third-party validation of you being good at what you what you say you are good at. As I said before, we can all say we're good at something, but that third party validation is so important. And one little tip where it really works well is it works brilliantly if you want a Wikipedia page. Because a lot of things you cannot put on a Wikipedia page, like, for instance, a self-published book. Now, I've got my first self-published book and another one coming out later this year. But that is, you know, I'm self-publishing. I've chosen to do that with eyes wide open. But so Wikipedia pages will not accept self-published books, but third-party validation is very important. So awards really help with that, particularly at the moment. It also helps with the way people search for things these days. So if you use, say, ChatGPT to say, I am looking for the best financial advisor in the UK who will work with women, then AI is going to start to look for that. And we want them to look for Diane, don't we? And find Diane in that rather than other people. So this helps you stay ahead of the curve in our massively changing world.
Wow, it's interesting.
Yeah, Diane, we'll have to do a little search on you and see what comes up.
Yeah.
So we've had a few people joining us this morning watching our live. So Janine Friston, who I interviewed last week for my podcast, The Business Awards Show, runs the Female Business Women Awards. And she's open at the moment. And I'll make sure, actually, I'll drop her. Janine, if you're still on the call, drop your link into the comments as well. You know, and her and I had a good discussion about, again, ethical awards, as I did with Sandra Garlick as well. So those two ladies are definitely on my list. Sandra runs the Women Who Awards, and I interviewed her for the podcast as well. And also who's been on the call is Emma Hewitt, who writes award entries, who I've met a number of times through the Club Hub Awards. Those ones are aimed at the children's activity sector. I was there last year. Diane and I were sponsoring that, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we spoke at the event, and we also gave out some awards. And that was a great atmosphere there, wasn't there? You know,
Amazing.
I mean, it felt like we were transported back to when we were like 5, because we were doing all these children's. It felt a bit like that. But, you know, it was fabulous. Everybody had such, you know what? I've never been to an event where there was so much energy in the room, because I think they're all used to kind of, you know, building up children and working with children, that it just felt like, you know, CBBC on steroids, really. It was fantastic. It was really good. So, yeah, thanks for your comments, Emma. She's posted such valuable insights and tips. Do you know what? It's been lovely talking to you all this morning. You all have so much knowledge to share. Make sure that you all go in and put your contact details into the comments of the live. Because obviously we find more people watch it on the replay than they do live, because it is Monday morning. And we will be putting the conversation onto YouTube as well. So thank you this morning. Thank you, Fiona. Well done. Thank you, Denise. And thank you to Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.